You hear a lot of spiritual people saying, live in the moment, be present. And a lot of us think, oh, I can't do that all day. I've got stuff to do. I've got bills to pay. I've got a family to feed, etc. You don't have to live in the moment 16 hours of the day that you're awake, roughly. But you should not be, for that entire time, trapped in the past and projecting your future. So a lot of us worry. We stay up late. We think about the next day. We think about what we need to do. We think about why our goals haven't been reached. We think and think and think. What Eastern traditions call monkey mind chatter. A lot of our thoughts are not even necessary. They're not productive. They're just recounting things and obsessing over how we felt, how we're going to feel. So when we meditate, this is a pause from that. We need those times. We need times to stop thinking about what happened or what may happen in the future. And we need to be aware of where we are at the moment. We need to be aware of who we are, independent of past experiences, independent of future experiences. There's something deeper in everybody that is there to be learned, but you can't learn it if you're thinking about experiences that happened in the past or if you're projecting your future. The only way to know what's truly valuable in us is to pause, to find a way to clear those thoughts, those obsessive thoughts, and then we can start to look inward and we start to become aware of ourselves in a more raw form. So that's what meditation is. When we meditate, it's very difficult for people that are just beginning. For people that have ADHD, I may have had that when I was younger, and it was also problematic for me to meditate for quite some time. The way I overcame that, there's lots of tools, but the biggest thing is that wherever we are in our journey, it's not going to be easy. We have to just keep trying, even if it's for 5-10 minutes a day, but you have to make some amount of effort each day. And when you do this, there's plenty of skills that you can learn to keep you focused. So for example, box breathing. I do this quite often because my mind is very active and does like to do things. So I set the task of recounting of 4 seconds breathing in, 4 seconds holding, releasing for at least 4 seconds, sometimes more, and then holding again for 4 seconds and repeating the process. By giving my mind something particular to do, I'm able to focus on that task and clear my mind of all the other monkey mind chatter. So there are other things that you can do as well. With each breath, you could imagine that you are absorbing or receiving. With each breath out, you could imagine that you are giving. And when I say imagine, the imagination is very powerful. When we truly focus on something, we can actually achieve it. So when we're paused in that moment from thinking, when we have thoughts come up and we push them aside and we say, oh, look at that. There was a moment there I wasn't thinking about anything. I stopped thinking about something before I moved on to the next thought. There's a gap in between the thoughts. That's where we want to be during meditation. We want to grow that. And it takes practice, like anything. If, for example, you have a goal at the gym, you want to do so many sets, so many reps, you're used to working towards it. Well, meditation is very similar in that you have to work towards it. There are times where I'll sit there and I will have thoughts come up and I run away with those thoughts and I have to curb myself back and I say, no, you're not doing the job. Get on track. Do the box breathing. Do some sort of visualization. But I get to that point where I've now started to increase those gaps in thoughts. And in those moments, that's when you can truly be calm. And when you're truly calm, you can see things clearly. But if you have your eyes closed, you don't see what's outside. You see what's internal clearly. So now imagine you're in that gap between thoughts. You're just aware of yourself. Maybe you're aware of your body. You're paying attention to the space around you. You're paying attention to the space that you occupy. You've quieted down your thoughts. Now you leave yourself open to receiving. Because when the mind is active, it cannot receive. When you are talking, you cannot listen, as many people say. So when your mind is not talking, you can listen. And that's the beauty of meditation. In that moment, you have the ability to understand things not based on space-time, but in that moment, you can understand your existence apart from it. So what happens after that moment? Let's say you have that moment where you are without thought momentarily, and you are truly just sensing where you are. And from there, perhaps you can stretch it a little bit. Perhaps after being aware of where you are, you can start to experience things regarding who you are. And I'm not talking about mental explanation. I'm a Pisces, I'm tall, I'm this and that. I'm talking about knowing your divine connection to the universe, knowing your connection to everything. So after that moment that you have access to appreciating who you are, without any experiences, without any of your confidences, your insecurities, all of that goes away and you just are. The question is what happens after that moment. When you start to think again, you might fall back into those same exact patterns of thought, those same patterns of I'm this person. My identity has been shaped by X, Y, and Z that happened, and I'm on this course, and this is what I'm doing. You may be tempted to fall back into that routine thinking, but if you can hold it a little bit longer, or if you can return to that moment where you're not attached to your identity as it's been conceived over your lifespan, you really have access to start new. Can you imagine if an alien just was all of a sudden put into your body, or somebody was just their consciousness put into your body? They no longer have their old life. They no longer are limited by what happened to them. They look at your body, their new life, with completely fresh eyes. They say, I can do X, Y, and Z now. I can do so much because I'm starting over. But we have that ability when we are able to let go of whatever happened to us before that has shaped us and has projected us on a path, whether consciously or unconsciously. If we're able to let go of that, then after that moment of being within ourselves, when we come back to interacting with space-time, we can redefine what it is that we do. We can redefine what we are. So this is the power of meditation. It sounds overused. It sounds cliche. Well, I meditate. I'm so spiritual. But yet, if you can meditate, you do have access to the highest level of your spirit. Give yourself 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day to focus on doing nothing except for breathing, focusing on your breathing, focusing on listening to your body. And you will start to see turnarounds. You'll see reduction of stress, first of all. And if you can do it more often, you may start to see changes in your habit. And if you take it to the extreme and you become very proficient at meditating and truly more aware of who you are universally rather than who you are specifically, as has been defined by your brain over these years, you will start to see that your life transforms in ways that you couldn't even imagine. Serendipitous things will occur. The universe listens to you, so only if you are able to truly clear out all the monkey mind chatter, all of the silly thoughts that you have and hang-ups and preoccupations, then you're able to speak to the universe. And as crazy as that sounds, you are speaking to the universe because you are a part of the universe. As an individual that has life, you are an incarnation of the highest form of the universe, one which isn't just material, like the majority of things around us, isn't just biological, that has some sort of higher form of consciousness, but you have one of the highest forms of consciousness. The mental abilities, the emotional abilities, the physical abilities, all those can be transcended even to spiritual abilities, but it's not going to happen by continuing through your daily routine. You have to set time aside to truly know thyself. That's why that's one of my favorite sayings is know thyself. And I encourage everyone to do that because we need all the strength that we can get. There's so many changes going on in the world right now. So many changes with AI replacing jobs. And there's going to be a lot more changes coming out. And so if we're not grounded, if we don't have a sense of who we are, we're not going to be able to face those challenges with success. We'll be freaking out. We'll be panicking. This is gone. That is gone. I don't know what I'm going to do. Whereas if you know who you are, you will reach an understanding of what is right for you. You can reach that idea of what your path is. I wish you much luck. Take care.